when the Berlin Wall fell, there was an American State Department official named Francis Fukuyama, and he wrote a very influential essay called The End of History. And for decades, capitalism was in a struggle with communism. And in his essay, Fukuyama argued that with the triumph of capitalism, we've come to the end of history, meaning we now know what humanity most strives for, which is a liberal consumer democracy, where people feel empowered to have the freedom to buy whatever they want. And this, for him, was the apex of human civilization. And this creates what is called the unipolar moment, where America is the global hegemon. And it creates a world that is heavily globalized, capitalistic, and very individualistic. And this is a very unique moment in human history. And we've come with this war in Iran to the end of this moment. All right? So let me first explain the three major characteristics of this unipolar moment. The first is what we call Pax Americana, where American power, American military might guarantee peace in the entire world. And this is unique in human history, where for the first time there was a power that was able to dominate the entire globe. And America was able to do so through three mechanisms, okay? The first is, of course, its military power, but specifically aerial supremacy, okay? Which is backed up by special forces and the CIA. So the CIA was able to infiltrate every single government in the world and identify who would be loyal to the American empire and then promote this person. If there were individuals that challenged the American empire, these people were demoted or eliminated. Nations that proved problematic, for example, maybe Syria or Libya, special forces went in to sabotage the economy, and then aerial power went in to destroy the government. And so this created Pax Americana. Now, what's good about this is that it did bring peace to very problematic regions. For example, in East Asia, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, China, Vietnam did not compete against each other. They just participated in the global economy, which brought tremendous wealth and prosperity to the East Asia region. This is true also in Europe and South America as well. Okay? So air supremacy. Then you have something called surveillance. And basically what I mean by that is the internet. So believe it or not, but the internet was created not to actually help you communicate and to watch pornography. It was actually to have a mass surveillance system over the entire human population, so that the Pentagon, the military, knew exactly the vibe or the culture, the attitudes, the emotions of each region. And through social media, through mechanisms such as Facebook and Twitter, they were able to manipulate certain emotions. Okay? So the second mechanism is mass surveillance through the popularization of the internet. And the third is something called a rules-based international order. Okay, and what this means is American power hid behind multilateral organizations such as the United Nations, such as the World Bank, such as the World Trade Organization. And so people didn't notice that the American empire was dominating everything. They believed that the world was fair and just, and through logic and reason and debate, they could present their case. All right? So for the longest time, this Pax Americana provided peace and stability to the world, which brought tremendous prosperity. All right, so that's number one. Number two is the supremacy of science. So for most of human history, people were religious. They believed in gods. But with the rise of Pax Americana, science became the dominant religion of the whole world. All right, so the classic example is COVID. COVID was raging across the world, and then they introduced vaccines. Now, I teach critical thinking skills. So when I first heard about vaccines, I was a bit skeptical. I said to my friends who are Chinese and American, I said, vaccines used to take about 10 years to develop. And that's when the virus is stable and have been around for centuries. But this COVID is constantly mutating, and they haven't have done enough trial research. So is it really safe to take these vaccines? And whether they were Chinese or American, their response was the same, which is, how dare you question science? You are a peasant. Have you gone to school? Have you no culture? Can you not think? Okay? And this shows you how science has become the new religion of the world. And if you think about it, the scientists that run the world, they're actually transnational priests. Okay? And science is an international brotherhood where if you're a scientist in China, you're not actually loyal to China, you're actually loyal to the international order of science, because that's how you get promoted, right? You get published in Nature or Science. If you win an award, like the Nobel Prize, that's how you get rewarded, okay? So you're better off being loyal to the brotherhood of science rather than your own nation state. And of course, it is the American Empire that controls science. And the third unique aspect of the Unipolar movement is, of course, the universality of the US dollar. And it's incredible to think about where just a piece of paper, you think it's gold, you think there's value in it. And not just you, but everyone around you. So that if you take your US dollars, you can go anywhere in the world and buy yourself a villa, or enjoy a nice vacation, or fly around. But not only that, but you aspire in life to accumulate as much US dollars as possible, right? Is there really a difference between $100 million and $100 billion? There's actually no difference. You can't spend it. But you want to achieve as much as possible, and as a result, you focus your entire life on accumulating as much as possible. Okay? So these are the three main pillars of the unipolar movement. And again, in the beginning, which was maybe the early 90s, this led to tremendous peace and prosperity throughout the world. The problem, though, is that over time, these three pillars started to decay, right? So, Pax Americana started to itself ignore the rules-based international order, which itself created, right? So America started to bomb countries such as Libya and Syria without international approval. Most recently, it went to attack Iran without even asking for the opinion of the world, without even caring what the world thought, okay? So this leads to the idea of hubris. Maybe the first generation appreciates the importance of collaboration, of consensus. But the second generation, the children, are arrogant. They have hubris. They want to enjoy their power. Okay? So that's problem number one. Supremacy of science, religion, basically it becomes a religion in itself, orthodoxy. So that science does not become the main engine of innovation in the world, it becomes the main engine of orthodoxy or suppression. And that's why for the past 20, 30 years, we've seen very little in terms of technological innovation. Don't tell me Silicon Valley is the center of innovation in the world, okay? All they do is make food delivery apps. It's been a long time since we've seen massive innovation in the world. What we've seen these past 20, 30 years is the scaling out, the popularization of innovation, right? where American technology is spread throughout the world, especially in China. But we have not seen actually major innovation in science itself. Right? And the third thing, the university of the US dollar leads to printing dollars, okay? Or just basically corruption. Where because America is able to print as much US dollars as it wants to fund its corruption, it does so, okay? So the US dollar has lessened in value. And what this means is basically it's made inequality worse, it's made corruption worse, it's made people very lazy. If you're a young person, you're like, you know what, no matter how hard I work, I'm still screwed in the end because the boomers, the older generation, have so much more money than I do. I can never catch up. So I refuse to play this game. Either I refuse to play this game, so I quit, pumping, lie flat, or I gamble. I pray that if I put $1 million in Bitcoin, it'll go up to $10 million, or the stock market, or sports betting, okay? That's why in America, gambling has become so popular. All right? So this has led to today, basically. All right? So we shouldn't see this war against Iran as just a decision of one person, Donald Trump, or the machinations of a country, Israel. Really, this war in Iran is happening because we've come to the end of the unipolar moment because the American empire has become corrupt, self-indulgent, lazy, arrogant. All right? So, with the end of the American empire, with the end of Pax Americana, we are shifting towards a new world. And this new world, some will survive, most will not. Okay? And this is true throughout history where when empire declines and the world order is shifting, where there's a paradigm shift, people are forced to make a hard choice of either adapt or die. All right?